Ever catch yourself making a financial decision and thinking, 2 seconds ago this seemed brilliant, but now, yeah, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into the psychology behind those head-scratching money moves with Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. The thing is, getting rich isn't always about being a Wall Street whiz. Housel says it's more about understanding the quirks in our own financial behavior. Ready to unpack that?
Absolutely. Housel's big idea is that our brains are wired to see money through the lens of our own experiences, even if those experiences are just a tiny sliver of the big picture.
Like that time I bought lottery tickets because I found $1 on the sidewalk. Felt like destiny, but probably wasn't.
Exactly. And those personal narratives become even more powerful when you consider how few of us actually learn about money systematically. We pick up bits and pieces from family, friends, maybe a crash course when we get that first paycheck.
So someone who lived through the hyperinflation of the 70s might be terrified of holding cash, while someone who came of age during the dot-com boom might be all about chasing the next big tech stock, right?
Right. It's like our brains get financially imprinted early on. Housel even found a study that backs this up. Economists analyzed 50 years of data and discovered that people's willingness to take investment risks had less to do with their education or how smart they were, and more to do with how the stock market performed when they were young adults.
Wow, that's wild. So even if I think I'm making a calculated decision, it might actually be my 20-year-old self calling the shots. This is where it gets really interesting. Tell me more.
Well, think about it this way. Imagine two investors, both equally intelligent and knowledgeable. One grew up during a recession, the other during a booming economy. Their risk tolerance, their investment choices, even their definition of enough money will likely be completely different, all because of their early experiences.
So how do we break free from these ingrained money scripts if they're holding us back?
Howells argues that a big part of it is acknowledging two powerful forces that often get overlooked: luck and risk.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How can understanding luck and risk actually make us better with money? So we're back to luck and risk. I get that they're part of life, but how do they factor into making smarter money choices?
Think of it this way. Accepting that luck plays a role helps you be both more humble about your wins and more resilient when facing losses.
Okay, that makes sense. If I get lucky and the stock I barely researched takes off, doesn't mean I'm suddenly Warren Buffett.
Exactly. And on the flip side, if a carefully planned investment goes south, maybe it wasn't a dumb move, but just bad luck or the inherent risk of investing rearing its head.
So it's not always about beating ourselves up over every financial misstep. Sometimes it's just the market doing its thing.
Right. Housel says that even the most legendary investors are wrong a significant portion of the time. What sets them apart is not being right all the time, but having the resilience to withstand those inevitable losses and letting the winners run their course.
He uses Bill Gates as an example of luck, right?
He does. Housel points out that even Bill Gates, as brilliant as he is, had a huge dose of luck. Back in the 1960s, Gates just happened to go to one of the only high schools in the country with access to a computer. That chance encounter played a huge role in his journey to creating Microsoft.
Whoa, that really makes you think, what if Gates had gone to a different school? Would we even have Microsoft today? It's mind-boggling how these seemingly small things can have such a huge impact.
Exactly, and this applies to all of us. We often overestimate the role of our own skill and underestimate the role of luck in both our successes and failures.
Which is why it's so easy to judge others' financial wins or losses without knowing the full story.
Right. We tend to attribute others' failures to bad choices while giving ourselves a pass by blaming risk. It's a human bias we all have.
So how do we navigate this? Do we just throw up our hands and say, whatever happens, happens?
Not at all. Acknowledging luck and risk isn't about giving up control. It's about gaining perspective. You can't control everything, but you can control how you react, how you manage your money, and how you define success.
I like that. Speaking of defining success, that reminds me of Housel's point about knowing when you have enough.
Yes, this is such a powerful concept. He tells a great story about Kurt Vonnegut and his friend Joseph Heller. They were at a billionaire's party, and Vonnegut pointed out the host's immense wealth. Heller's response, "Yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough."
I love that. It's so true, though. It's so easy to get caught up in that comparison game, always chasing more, more, more.
Yeah.
But Heller makes a really good point. Having enough, whatever that means for you, can be more fulfilling than endlessly striving for more.
Absolutely. Housel argues that this constant pursuit of more can actually be destructive, leading to burnout, bad decisions, even ethical lapses.
So how do we figure out what enough looks like for us? Is it just about having a certain amount of money in the bank?
It's different for everyone, but it starts with understanding your values. What
Yeah,
truly matters to you? What do you want your money to do for you? Once you have a clear sense of that, you can start making financial choices that align with those values.
that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about how our experiences shape our financial views and the importance of understanding luck, risk, and enough. What else does Housel say can trip us up when it comes to money?
Well, he spends a good chunk of the book talking about compounding, which he calls the eighth wonder of the world.
Compounding, that's the whole make money while you sleep concept, right? But I'll admit, even though I've heard of it, I don't fully grasp how it works. Right, compounding. It's one of those things everyone throws around in the finance world. But how does it actually work? Break it down for me.
Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's small, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow growing bigger and bigger. That's compounding in a nutshell. It's the idea that even small gains over time can lead to exponential growth.
Okay, I'm picturing a massive snowball now. But with money instead of snow, it's gains building upon previous gains, right?
Exactly. And just like that snowball, the longer it rolls, the more powerful the effect becomes. That's why starting early with investing is so important, even if you can only invest small amounts.
So time is really our best friend when it comes to building wealth.
Absolutely. Housel uses Warren Buffett again to illustrate this. He points out that while Buffett is a brilliant investor, a huge chunk of his wealth comes from the fact that he's been investing consistently since he was a kid. He's given his money decades to compound.
He said that snowball rolling down the hill for a long, long time. But Housel says there's a catch, right? Something about a market fee.
He does. See, compounding sounds amazing in theory, but the price we pay for those long-term gains is volatility. The market has ups and downs, sometimes big ones, and enduring those fluctuations, especially when your emotions are telling you to sell everything, that's the fee.
So it's not just about understanding how compounding works. It's about having the mental fortitude to ride out those inevitable market storms.
Exactly. Patience and discipline are key. Housel compares it to buying a car. You can pay full price for a new one, find a cheaper used car, or try to steal one and risk the consequences.
And in the investing world, trying to steal a car is like trying to time the market, hoping to dodge those dips and only catch the upswings, which rarely works out in the long run.
Right. And often those who try to avoid the market's fee end up paying a higher price later in the form of missed opportunities or bad decisions made out of fear.
So we've got our personal narratives, luck, risk enough, and the powerful but sometimes bumpy road of compounding. Anything else we need to watch out for on our quest for financial peace of mind?
Housel talks about the allure of stories. Our brains love a good narrative, but sometimes we latch onto those stories, especially financial ones, without considering the whole picture.
Like those I got rich quick schemes you see online.
Exactly. Or even something less extreme, like assuming everyone who made a killing in the stock market is a genius without acknowledging the role of luck timing, or sometimes even shady tactics.
So how do we protect ourselves from being swept away by these financial fairy tales?
Housel stresses the importance of awareness, recognizing that we're hardwired to seek out narratives and that those narratives can sometimes be misleading is the first step.
So take a beat, question the stories you're telling yourself about money, and maybe be a little skeptical of those get-rich-quick gurus.
Precisely. And remember, when it comes to financial decisions, reasonable often beats rational.
What's the difference?
A rational investor makes decisions based solely on logic and data. A reasonable investor factors in their emotions, personal circumstances, and even their values.
So it's okay if I decide to keep a larger emergency fund than what financial advisors might recommend simply because it brings me peace of mind.
Exactly. Or if you choose to invest in a company that aligns with your values, even if it's not the most statistically sound investment on paper, it's about finding that balance between what makes sense financially and what feels right for you.
This has been eye-opening. We've covered so much ground today, from how our past experiences shape our money mindset, to the power of compounding, to the importance of finding your own enough. What are some key takeaways our listeners can walk away with today?
Remember that you're not a robot. It's okay to acknowledge the role of emotions and personal circumstances in your financial decisions. Don't be afraid to define what success and enough look like for you. And remember that building wealth is often a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient. Stay disciplined, and don't be afraid to seek out reliable information and guidance along the way.
This deep dive into the psychology of money has given us a lot to think about. Remember, understanding your own relationship with money with all its quirks and complexities is one of the most valuable investments you can make. Until next time, happy investing.